My name is Sid Padgtt. I own Oddfellows Art Gallery. Sightbound photography is my side business I do. I am the president of Artist Row down here in Augusta right now. I am a founding member of the Alternative Artworks member group, the founder of the TBD photography group, member of the steering committee for the Augusta Photography Festival. Used to take pictures when I was a kid, and my mom and dad pretty much weaned me off of that because I was going through film so fast they couldn't afford it. So whenever I was in college, I decided to take a class in photography. The teacher showed us a video about a guy named Jerry Yulesman. It was a Kodak Master Series video, and he showed how he would take black and white photography and he would take 5 enlargers, 5 different negatives, and blend them into one picture.
Wow.
And all the stuff you see in Photoshop he was doing back in the 60s without airbrush or anything. It's all done dodging, burning, and multiple enlargers, and just fell in love with it, and basically quit my major at the time and moved to Savannah to go to Savannah College of Art Design and major in photography. This would have been say 91, 92, in that range. Went to SCAD for 2 years, and then I got a job working at Wolf Camera as just a kind of a fill-in job, and got used to working around camera equipment again and got back into it. I got a job working with Christian Studios here in town, Frank Christian, Danielle Stewart, and he's a pretty big name in golf photography. He used to be the official photographer for the Augusta National, and basically what I did for them was process all their black and white images. Then ended up working for Bailey's Art Center, which was like the premier art supply place in town, framing, and worked there as the head framer for 6 years. I've been talking about opening my own gallery for about 10 years. I took my daughter to New Orleans, and just randomly driving around one night I looked over and I saw one of Jerry Yulesman. I saw one of his pictures in a window at the gallery, and I stopped to look to see if it was an original. I'd never actually even seen one of his original pieces. I'd always seen posters. So I go to the window and I looked and saw that it was an original, marked it on my list, got to come back here tomorrow. So I get there and it's called a Gallery of Fine Photography. I open the door and the first thing I see is an original Ansel Adams sitting on the wall. Beautiful. Just, I've never seen one of those in person either, not even in a museum. So literally every piece I saw needed to be in a museum. It was gorgeous. The lady said, well, if you want to go upstairs, you can't even tell there was a staircase the way the place is laid out. She said, there's an exhibit upstairs. Didn't tell me what it was. I walk up the stairs, I come around the corner, and the first thing I see is Joey Ramone, this huge print, beautiful. And then I saw Iggy Pop, then I saw Debbie Harry, and it was, and I can't remember the photographer's name, it was a female, and she lived in New York back in the 70s and 80s when CBGBs and all these groups were coming through that I grew up listening to. So I basically right there said, that's it, I quit, I'm going to open up my gallery. I've been talking about doing it for years. This would have been 2009, 2010, right there. We got the building in, August, and it was in really bad shape. It had been empty, like since the first time I had seen it, it had been empty that long. And then October was when we had our big grand opening, and it went over really well. Working at Bailey's, I pretty much know, I'd say probably 80% of the artists in Augusta. And finding artists was not hard at all. Before I'd even started looking, I had people showing up at the door going, hey, look at my stuff, I'm looking for a place to show. And we became kind of the alternative place for artists that don't do traditional things that typical like Broad Street Artist Row show. So we had a lot of like the tattoo artists showing up, like bringing their stuff in they do on the side, that type of stuff. That just fit my personality really well because I kind of don't do traditional things either. So the first artist I went after was a guy named David Seidman, and I actually have a piece of his tattooed on my arm. That's how much I like this guy. I have no other artist, not even Jerry Yulesman. It's this piece right here, and it's actually hanging over there on the wall. He's an illustrator out of Philadelphia, and he really doesn't do any kind of gallery shows or anything, but I got in touch with him and offered him to be our first featured artist. I hit him like for about 10 minutes going back and forth, and he just kept saying no, no, no. And I said, well, I got one of your pieces tattooed on my arm. I just thought I'd let you know that. And he was like, really? Send me a picture. So I sent him a picture of the tattoo. And he calls me back about a day later. He said, okay, I'll do it. What do you want? We had Studio 222 basically across the street. Next door we had an antique store that, and we kind of fed off of those two businesses. Studio 222 closed in January. He'd been in business for a long time and just decided to get out of it. And then right after that, the antique store folded up and left. So we were pretty much just left there by ourselves with no support at all. So I started looking around for other places to move because we still had our customers as far as the framing customers go, but the gallery traffic was nil, and just wanted to pick that back up and get, basically some new blood. So I started scouting out places like right here on Artist Row, and this building opened up, and it's been perfect. Back in the 90s, early 90s, this was a ghost town. There was nothing down here. The Miller Theater had closed up. I'm not sure about the Imperial at the time, but there was just block after block after block of empty buildings. And as part of the plan to go ahead and revitalize downtown, they started Artist Row, which basically the city came in and said they were going to pay for galleries that wanted to open up their rent for the first year. A bunch of people got together, galleries opened up down here, and that was one of the first things, along with Coco, whenever he opened up the Soul Bar and a couple of other places. The Pizza Joint came about that time, Nacho Mama's, and Artist Row all arrived about the same time and started the seeds of what started everything coming back downtown. Right now, I'm the furthest business on this side, and it goes all the way down. We're on the 1000 block, and it goes all the way down to the 500 block with Artistic Perceptions. We have, I think, 5 galleries right now, one almost on Green Street, off on a side street. We have the Book Tavern. We're even talking about expanding into some of the restaurants and doing culinary arts and doing some of the music spots and stuff, and doing music, like we do music lessons here, but I'd like to get like Rock Bottom Music and some other music venues down here involved also. During the day, it's more about the retail and stuff, and then on the weekends and the late nights, the bar crowd pretty much takes over. And that's been a conflict for First Friday, because First Friday was a gallery stroll, and it's pretty much become more of a party atmosphere. Everybody comes down here and bar hops. So we're trying to bring it back into where there's basically 2 different versions of First Friday. You come at 5 o'clock at like 8, and that's going to be the gallery, family friendly, and then about 8:30, 9 o'clock, it's going to switch over to the other crowd. And that's something we're working with the police and a couple other groups on, trying to establish that more of like what it used to be. The idea is that we're going to have a featured artist over here on this wall, like we have Margaret Ann Smith right now, and then a mixed wall over there that changes every month. The featured artist changes every 2 months. So I want to rotate stuff out on a pretty regular basis, so every time somebody comes in, they see new things. Sure. And it works out pretty well. A lot of the artists get their stuff framed here also at a pretty good discount. So.
Great.
That was originally, whenever I opened the other gallery, the only reason I did framing was so that the artists wouldn't get just totally raped going to different places in town, because the markup on framing sometimes is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be able to do it affordable for the artists, because I know they don't make a lot of money. But when Bailey's Art Center went out of business, basically all the Bailey's customers came to me because I worked there for so long, and it just kind of picked up from there, and the framing business is actually what was doing the most over there. We're selling at least 1 or 2 pieces a day, so it's much, much, much better over here as far as selling art. A scholarship fund every year. Last year we were able to give out 2 $1,500 scholarships to graduating seniors going into art majors. We did a guitar auction. We gave out 12 guitars to different artists to raise money, and all of them went out. We had 1 guitar alone that sold for $800 and something, which I was really happy with. Artists who felt there was no support in Augusta, and there's really not a whole lot of venues for people that don't do traditional magnolias, golf, pretty much landscapes, the things you see in Southern art. If you want to do something different, there's really not a place in Augusta to do that. So we came up with the idea of doing disused space, empty buildings, and doing guerrilla art shows where we just come in for one night, throw up an art show, take it down, and basically if you're not there within those 4 or 5 hours, you miss it. We have Human, which is the president. We have Laura, and we have Xavier Jones is one of the group, Mike Cameron, Ernest Anderson, Martha Deller, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a ton of folks. Be a movie theater basically down here. They've had everything from Leonard Skinner, Elvis has played there, James Brown, over the years. and it was basically just shut up and abandoned. The roof had started to come in, and back in the 90s, I believe it was the Knox Foundation came in and bought the building, put a new roof on it, with the intention of donating it to either the college or an arts organization to use as a new performance space. And finally, the symphony decided to take possession, and they're currently in their fundraising to do a complete restoration, floor to ceiling, and believe they're looking for about $23 million to renovate the building. And last I heard, they were at about 13 million, somewhere around there. So, and they're using public and private funds to do this, and it's going to be an amazing space whenever they get done. They're basically taking out some of the seats from the balcony and bringing the stage forward and creating a new orchestra pit. Is doing some really nice things in there, and it's going to be by far the premier venue in Augusta whenever they get done. Our first group show came out at the Miller. Mieko DeSano, who's the new executive director of the symphony, they now own the building. She's awesome, and I met her like right as she moved into town through Artist Row. I run a booth at Saturday Market for Artist Row, and I met her through there, and we were talking and basically just came up with the idea of doing the show at the Miller, and that's how Alternative Artworks got our first show, and it was I can't even describe how good that show was. I loved it.
We are Alternative Artworks, and we started about 5 months ago, mainly to bring all the local artists here in Augusta, Georgia together, and just to share experiences and to be able to interact and kind of feed off of each other in our artworks.
And we've been meeting monthly, and our intention was first to just support one another in our projects, but it evolved to being a group that is trying to liaise with the community, to get involved in community projects, to make ourselves known as artists who produce artwork off the trodden path, something a little bit different. Came out of the idea of Human Hogman and Sid Padgtt, who are both artists. Sid is also a co-owner of a gallery downtown called Oddfellows Gallery, and Human is a fabulous painter, and he's an artist, and he works in many different mediums.
And I've been very involved with the downtown local art scene with my businesses, my art-related businesses downtown here, and they invited me to join the group here, and of course I'm going to support and be involved with any kind of art-related venture. It was excellent opportunity to be involved here at this, making a little bit of history with the Miller Theater, that maybe the first event since the last event here. So I was pretty excited about that. I'll definitely be sticking around with them. So. Great people, great artists, very, very good for Augusta.
It's a little conceptual and visually appealing. I always say this is the second most significant flag that came out of Augusta. So, first one being Jasper Johns. I hope it is popular.
What we got was people coming specifically to see our show, and we still got over 200 people through there, which wasn't no small feat. It was pretty amazing.